Hello, everybody. Good evening. Can you hear me? Can you see me? If yes, please give me a plus in the chat box, and then we will begin. I see some pluses. Perfect. Okay, so are you ready to start? Let's start. My name is Svetlana Markova. You may know me as the author of VK group Английский для детей. Also, I am a teacher with more than 10 years of experience working with preschoolers, with primary and secondary school students, and even with adults. Also, I'm a founder and owner of Meridian Language School in St. Petersburg here. Yeah, and where are you from? Please write in the chat box. Where are you from? Arizona, okay, great. St. Petersburg too. Perfect. It's wonderful weather here today. Saransk, Kursk, Saratov too. Staroskol, great. St. Petersburg, yes. So many colleagues. Baikal, welcome to Baikal, yeah. Okay, so Ukraine, even from Ukraine. I'd like to say Sky Teach, thank you for inviting me here as a speaker. Today is only the first day of our marathon on teaching children how to learn. So the topic is magnificent. I think it's wonderful, especially for summer when we try to learn something new as teachers, and how to maintain motivation. It's also a wonderful topic just to focus on during the summer period and prepare yourself for the next year. And today, I'd like to ask you to be active. Please feel free to ask any questions because we've got. Yes, we've got some presents from our sponsors. I will choose for the most interesting questions at the end of our session. I'll try to answer them, of course. And the authors of these questions will get presents, special presents from our sponsors, Tito and ABC Carpets. I think everyone will be very glad to get such wonderful present. So try to be active, and I hope during the session you will be interested and you will ask questions too. Even Czech Republic, oh my God, so such wonderful vast territory. Nice. So, and as I said before, the topic of my session is different ways to maintain your students' motivation. And I'd like to start with, let me open the slide. Okay, the story on how to maintain motivation, it isn't something that can be easily put in one lecture. I've chosen the picture of a roller coaster at the very beginning. You could see that in the first slide deliberately. Why? Because most of people have very unstable motivation. It goes up for some time and then it can drop down. Please write in the chat box. Have you ever had a case or a situation where you were full of energy, where when you started doing something new, you really wanted it, but then you gave up because you lost your motivation? And in which area did you have it? Because I sometimes have such situations. Oh, lots of times, yes. As for me, it's sport. Because I start doing some exercises or yoga from time to time, but then I start thinking, oh, I don't have enough time and I'm full. Yeah, and I just don't have enough time. So I give up. And it's all about motivation, as I see. I could start, and healthy to habits. Yes, I agree. Svetlana. I could start with giving you some simple hacks and tricks, which I use with every age group when I see the loss of motivation, the low level of activity during the lesson, and that children show no interest in material given. But then I'll have to omit the theory. And as Viktor Frankl has said, uh, here is his thought. Mhm. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. Oh. Mhm. Yes, uh, I will transform this idea a bit for our purposes. If we understand why using this or that idea and what the goal is, all ideas will work much better. But actually, the theory is boring. So I will tell you a story today. A story is based on real events. All characters are real and there aren't any coincidences. The story is called Simon, a boy whose parents wanted him to speak English. Simon is my ex-classmate. We got acquainted in the fifth form. He was red-haired, blue-eyed, and absolutely, entirely apathetic to everything concerned with learning. He used to have a very funny nasal voice, like and he used to sit at the back of the class. Unfortunately, they are leaving. Yeah, they had a class just they finished it and then they're going to yeah they're going to leave the hall soon. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll continue. He was red-haired, blue-eyed, and absolutely entirely apathetic to everything concerned with learning. Uh, he was sitting at the back of the classroom, and it's so-called Kamchatka. And when our teacher noticed that he got distracted, she said, "Simon," and he replied like, "Yes." It was very funny. Everyone was laughing. Simon was absolutely indifferent to learning, and all teachers said that he had low motivation. At that time, we didn't know what they meant. Please, right? Did you have such classmates when you were students or pupils sitting at the back of the classroom without showing any interest to what's going on? Yeah, me too. That was Simon. And now, to understand the cause and effect, we will get in the time. You were such a student, Evelina. Fine. Yeah, and just to understand the cause and effect, we will get in the time machine and focus on the moment when Simon was only 4 years old and when his parents decided that it was high time for him to start learning English. By the way, our story is not simply about motivation, it's also about English. Simon's parents are common, well-educated people, both engineers. They always wanted him to speak languages and study abroad. And surely Simon needed English for that. Here is his first teacher, our first teacher, and Simon. Mm-hmm. At first, these are his parents. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Again, there are some students who have very low motivation, unfortunately, and we have to work with them too. And at first, Simon had English classes at kindergarten. Ludmila Stepanovna was his first teacher, seated 10 preschoolers on tiny chairs and started telling them a story about a little town. Have you heard this story about the little town? For example, how somebody is teaching English preschoolers using this story, or maybe you were the students who were taught some phonetic exercises. Yeah, I've heard this way of teaching children of preschool, teaching preschoolers. she was telling them a story about the little tongue. The little tongue was stretching, doing exercises, and producing different sounds like r, The lesson was 25 minutes, and 10 minutes out of them, children were training different sounds, doing some phonetic exercises. They were producing sounds like th, sh, f. So they were whistling and hissing, whistling and hissing. Uh, Here is the little Tom, by the way. The rest of the lesson was devoted to the alphabet song. So Ludmila Stepanovna showed the letters on the poster. At the end of the lesson, teacher showed the pictures with colors. All kids were supposed to repeat after the teacher. It's red, it's red, it's blue, it's blue. Uh, they repeated that in chorus after the teacher. Cyril hated these classes. It was hard for him to sit for so long. And even when the teacher started doing little gymnastics, when she understood that the children couldn't simply sit like that for 25 minutes, she was using the exercise, some gymnastics like stand up, sit down, hand on hips, bend down. Yeah, he still wanted to run away. Because there were some toys waiting for him in the corner, a red car and a rubber ducky. The little Tan annoyed Simon desperately. He was looking at Simon with his silly eyes, and Simon wanted to ban it with a toy hammer. On the screen, you are going to see some possible reasons why kids, not only Simon, weren't motivated enough to study. They couldn't remember anything, or they remembered little. Which reason do you think is the main? Kids were sitting on the chairs during the lesson. Low dynamic of the lesson. Using language one, so the whole lesson was in Russian. The tasks didn't correspond to the age of children. The teacher didn't consider the leading activity. The last one, says Anna Zakharova. Natalia, the first and the fourth. The second, the lesson wasn't dynamic. Thanks for your answers. Actually, all answers are partially correct, but the main reason is still the fifth option. The teacher didn't take into consideration the leading activity. And now, please have a look at Ilkonin's periodization. As you can see from this table, there is a certain leading activity for every age group. What is a leading activity? It's an activity in which the child can develop, and by doing which he can reach the next level, and discover the world. In the age of 3 and 7, from 3 to 7, the leading activity is a role play. Did Ludmila Stepanovna play with the children? No. She made them repeat, and she was telling them the little town story. Every age has its own leading activity. From 8 to 12, it's studying. The child likes learning in a classical perspective. From 15 to 17, it's socialization with peers. So children like communicating with their friends and so on. And then professional development. But let's come back to Simon. His parents understood that there weren't any progress in these classes, and they took him to a special English club where the lessons were a bit different. Every lesson, kids used to close their eyes and fly to England with their teacher, where lived a cute hero, Topsy the turtle. Do you work with preschoolers? And if yes, please write, do you use any puppets while working with them? I have lots of them. And I also have, yes, you, Evelina. Yeah, I've got lots of them. Lions, usually. Lions. Yeah, I don't have a lion puppet, but I have Cookie the cat and Topsy the turtle and Johnny the giraffe. Yes, yeah, so I've got a wide choice of them, but I don't have any lions. So, um, yes, Topsy, so the lesson was really different. Topsy asked the name of each child at the beginning. Simon knew about it, and he was trying to get prepared with the answer before the lesson. Topsy was so careless. He was constantly saying something like, I don't know, help me. He couldn't count, and children helped him to count sticks at first to 10, then to 20, and even to 30. The children learned the colors in this group. The teacher hung the cards on the walls, and Topsy said, touch blue, touch yellow, and they ran to touch the card. Also, the children were jumping on cards, flying, swimming, pretending they were birds and fish. Mm-hmm. Oh, Elena, and Wolf gets into the puppet theater. That's very amazing. Yes, we sometimes play the puppet theater at the end of the month. I will tell about it a bit later, or at the end of the course as just like a presentation for parents. Your ideas are wonderful. And also, Topsy couldn't decide for himself. He didn't know where he should put the objects, for example, the bag with toys. He was asking, should I put it on the windowsill or on the shelf? And Simon liked arguing with the other kids about the place where Topsy could put the object. On the windowsill, he said, or on the shelf, on the shelf. But the most favorite Simon's activity is when Topsy met his friends, Toys Cookie and Lulu Kangaroo. They were playing the shop game together. Children were talking for toys. They were voicing toys. They were playing doctor's game. They were arranging the tea party. Simon knew that after one activity would, yeah, every activity would be followed by another, and what would be at the end. He was looking forward for it. And at the end, there was craft time. Simon liked that he was making presents for his mom. For example, one day they were making a paper monkey with Topsy, and Simon managed to name all its body parts in English. Mother was so happy. As a question to you, what do you think? Which principles of maintaining the motivation were used by Topsy and his assistant teacher? Uh, four. Oh, that's a silly question because actually, again, all of them. Yes, Natalia. Yes, all of them. I'll tell about them all specifically. Let's see. The game. The teacher was playing with kids, right? Teaching them at the same time. So tea party, shopping with toys, role plays, where main characters are children. The game itself is emotionally bright. Children are focused on it and therefore they learn successfully. Activity change, settling and stirring activities. The example is cards play and calm exercises on the carpet with toys. It's vital for kids to move. Their attention span is relatively short, and it means that if your activity is long, their interest and motivation will fall. Mm-hmm. Yes, everything was in English. The lessons in this club was absolutely entirely, they were in English. There was a strict rule, no Russian at all. Only if there were some problems with discipline, I guess, but actually the whole lesson was in English. Also, Topsy and his assistant teacher was giving children the situation of choice. There is an option that there's an opinion that teachers don't have to give a choice for children at this age. And the more stable or framework of the lesson is, the better. Please tell me, those who work with preschoolers, do you give your children a situation of choice? Please write a plus if yes, and minus if you don't give them any situations of choice. Irina plus, Elena plus. Because yes, there is such an opinion that there are some rituals and the framework is very stable. Unfortunately, I don't work with children of that age. It's important even for teens. I sometimes, yeah. These are some rituals, and of course, it's important to have rituals in the classes with preschoolers. But oh, oops. If yes, give me a plus, please. I have information that I've disappeared. Is everything okay now? Oh, yes. So, okay, I'll continue. It's okay. So, yes, I think that there is nothing wrong in giving your kids choice, some choice. Should we sing this song or that song? Should we color the elephant in blue or in yellow or maybe in gray? All these moments let children feel like a subject of learning, not an object, and therefore it can increase their motivation. And of course, songs, actions, crafts, it's all about the change of activities, but also about different ways of implementing English in your daily routine. Kids love sitting at home, they love making crafts, and it means that when they will be doing something similar at home with their parents or with brothers or sisters, they will name all the subjects that you've learned. For example, they'll say, scissors, ballistic, I'm gluing. Well, because that's no, Lena, it's important to strike a good balance between setting rituals, following the rules, but sometimes giving them some opportunities to choose, and it's important. And if you consider the leading activity at this age and at all age groups, the kids' motivation keeps high automatically. And we come back to Simon. When Simon was 5, the teacher changed. Topsy began handing out stickers at the end of the lesson. The children didn't used to it. They were very happy. By the way, the teacher said that it was for their good work during the lesson and because they did their best. Uh, Kids got distracted sometimes, and then the teacher said that they wouldn't get any stickers. Oh, and it was quite offensive because, for example, Simon did his best not because stickers, but because he simply liked the teacher and he liked the whole process. He was interested. Once Simon got distracted a bit because he was tired of sitting on the carpet and he wanted to sing, but the teacher said that they had to finish the game, otherwise Simon wouldn't get a sticker. And Simon said, okay, I don't want a sticker. Tell me, please, do you give stickers at the end of the lesson? If you work with preschoolers or maybe with primary students, with pupils? Yes, yes. When Simon said, I don't want to get any stickers, the teacher didn't know how to react. And of course, he didn't give a sticker at the end. He said, it's because you weren't concentrated and you didn't work. Simon was very upset. Was the teacher right? What do you think? Yes, and some of them say, okay, I don't want your stickers. Yeah. I also used to have such situations. Let's touch a bit of a theory, because it's also about motivation, by the way. There are two types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic motivation, it's a motivation with the outer stimulus. I study because I want to get a sticker. I want to get a candy. I just study because I want my parents to take me to McDonald's. Such motivation is outer because it doesn't form the inner desire to this particular activity for pleasure. The leading activity is something that the person is doing for pleasure. The child likes playing in English and he takes great pleasure in learning, integrated in it. He doesn't need some extra stimulus. Vera, I use stickers and kids have some money, but they are not real, of course. Mm, I will tell you about my case and how I solved this problem in my classes. Just because I want, right? hmm and there is internal motivation. It's my desire to learn. And I will initiate it because I want it. Ideally, preschoolers don't need any motivation, outer motivation, because the lesson itself is a good motive. It's something that gives them pleasure on conditions that it has all the stages that I've mentioned before. It's dynamic, there are active games, maybe there is craft time, there are some songs that children might like. Stickers is a dangerous thing in this respect because children can easily shift a focus on them, and your lesson will turn to chasing for stickers. As for me, I tend to avoid distributing stickers, but I give children a choice of a reward. And if everything went smoothly in the classroom, they can dance with the Baby Shark song or read a story from the National Geographic book. I act like it's a big bonus for them. Also, we have some special students' passports at school. We stick their stickers after every topic, not after every lesson, but after every topic, after every module that we've covered. And the children tell a story of the month. There are constantly two stories. They tell the stories and then they get a sticker for their passports. hmm and here we come to different ways of maintaining motivation among pupils. And I want to remind you, please feel free to ask some questions about motivation and about some cases that you have, because you can get some special presents from our sponsors for the most interesting question. Don't forget about it. Uh, Here, I would like to come back to different ways of maintaining motivation among pupils, not only preschoolers. In primary school, children still are full of energy. Sometimes it's enough not to remove the elements of the game from your classes or the element of storytelling, and the motivation will be on a good level. The problems arise a bit later, at the age of 9, 10, when children understand that the study is rules, tables, texts, tests, bad marks, and the whole attitude towards the study can have an impact on English. Children don't want to learn it. Tell me, please, if you have any students that were full of energy in primary school, or maybe when they were preschoolers, and they turned 9 or 10, they went to a secondary school and they lost their motivation. Give me a plus if yes. Yulia, yes, I see. Yeah, I used to have lots of such students. What can we do with it? How can we help Simon, by the way? Because at this age, the fifth form, he moved to our city where I lived. He entered our school. We remember that the leading activity is learning at this age, yes? It means that children still like the process of studying, but the thing is that the study at school is something that simply doesn't attract the children's attention. We have to think about the conditions under which children will be interested. The motivation using marks works well at school, but it's still entirely external. We need something new, and the junction of interests of children and learning. Yes, and I will give you some tricks that I used and that worked for some time, worked well, and they all can be called achievement motivation. There is a Notion chartboard. It's a special table where we have the start at the end, and the group is following from one point to another, achieving some goals. For example, today the group was active during the lesson. We mark it on a rock or on a spot or on a flower, and you say, yes, it's important. What you give this mark for? You have to decide in advance what are the criteria of moving forwards and tell kids about them. Traditionally, mine are if children are active, I ask them, they answer, and doing their homework. If there is some moving forwards, I give them a bonus. They can watch a short 2 or 3 minutes video at the end of the lesson. And you can't even imagine how well it works with low motivated groups. If someone hasn't done homework, unfortunately, the group doesn't watch the movie or this video. The final goal is to finish the chartboard, and then we organize the real British tea party, for example, or we eat Italian pizza, or we have Italian pizza party at the end of the month or at the end of the term. Uh, uh, do you use such chartboards in your classroom? Please write yes if you use it. Give me a minus if this is the first time you hear about such way of maintaining motivation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sophia, similar, even for online students. Uh-huh. Great, great. Uh-huh. I do with my child. Okay. No. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. The way number 2 is the rainbow. Okay, I don't like individual charts because it's a competition. And I don't like overusing competition in my classes. But 10 years ago, in the summer camp, I handed out our kids a rainbow coloring page. Actually, I had a set of these coloring pages, but before I write the names of children, I wrote the names of children on every coloring page, and they knew that it was their rainbow. Um, if children finished their project, I was coloring a piece of a rainbow. Did it encourage them to do their best in the summer camp? Yes. You can imagine how hard it is to encourage kids to have English classes twice a day outdoors. When it was sunny and hot and they wanted to run around, to jump around. But actually, it worked well. Children came to me at the end of the day asking me to check their projects because they wanted their rainbow to be colorful. So it was very useful then. The idea number 3, growing a flower. Oh, it was my experiment. Every child had a flower. It was a drawing on a poster. I put it on the wall next to the whiteboard, and every lesson I was coloring a part of this flower. There were some sections on the flower. There were some sections on the stalk, on the leaves, then on petals, and in the middle. And at the end of the month, we've grown up the flower, and we had a tea party then. Criteria was the same. Children had to be active, plus finishing the project at the end of the module, plus doing their homework. And yes, even yes, yes, all flowers were growing differently. Yeah, and it's the reason why I tend to think that the mutual project, the whole group project, for example, the chartboard, is a bit better. Mm-hmm. Isn't it in pizza, for example, Natalia is asking, the same as getting stickers for good work? What if a child doesn't want to do his best and eat pizza in the end? Very good question. I will ask it a bit later. Yeah, I will answer it a bit later. Here is building Lego rocket project. We used this idea with kids aged 11 and 12, and the aim was to make a rocket and send it to Mars before Elon Musk. I brought a photo of evil Elon Musk and said that it was unfair that it would be him who would send a rocket to Mars first. Our people, come on. Will you build a rocket, children? Can we finish it till the end of May? It was February then. I said the children about the criteria, projects, homework, and being active during the lesson, and the group was getting a Lego brick at the end of the lesson, after every lesson. Um, it was on the shelf. I was putting all these bricks on the shelf, and they were putting it together, making a rocket. Of course, we finished before May and launched our rocket. What's important in this case? Yeah, kids love Lego. Definite criteria. Children should understand what they have to do to achieve their goals. What's the aim? Why? I'm a good boy. Plus, the teacher's reward. For example, the teacher rewards us with a prize at the end. Is it external motivation? So it's about the question that was asked before. Partially, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a rather external motivation. And I don't recommend to implement these ideas in groups which already have good motivation. It's much better to try some other ways. For example, to look at your lesson inside out and decide if everything is okay with dynamics. Aren't there any um, aren't there any problems with dynamic of the lesson? Uh, don't I repeat the same tasks at the same time? Is there an element of gamification in my classes? What about my tempo? And in case everything is really okay and nothing else can help, you can try the achievement motivation. So I would use it as a remedy if you have a group with low motivation. And let's move on. When I met Simone, it was the fifth form, and at this time, he was absolutely indifferent to learning. He knew lots of words, but he spoke English worse than we did. And what's more, he wasn't interested at all. His parents invited a tutor for him. Here it is. Here he is. But everything was in vain. Simon was yawning, and his teacher couldn't help him. He doesn't need it, said the teacher. Everyone was persuading Simon, pushing Simon, but he simply didn't care. When he was 12, he got a new private tutor. He saw that Simon was lazy, that funny exercises and even interactive presentations didn't work. He even wanted to refuse from such a student. But Simon's parents were about to give up too and asked him at least to talk with Simon in English to maintain the level. And the teacher offered parents to discuss with Simon something he liked. Competitive ways sometimes affect people with low results. How to support them with low results? I will answer this question at the end. Okay, what do you think about the interests of children of this age when they are 12, 14, especially when they are boys? What's your opinion? What do they like? What are their interests? Please write in the chat box. Social media blogging. Oh, yes. Sport and computer games. Harry Potter. Oh, football. Want to be popular. Yes, computer. Girls. Okay, maybe. Actually, yes, I think you're right. Superheroes. They are interested in themselves. Oh, that's true. Okay, and I think you all are right. As for Simon, he liked the game Clash of Clans. There were lots of heroes with their own yes, there were lots of heroes with their own skills. Everyone had a territory. The teacher adapted this game to the lesson, and for every completed exercise, he got a hero for his team. The teacher printed out the pictures of all heroes of this game. The teacher was also playing with Simon. For every Simon's mistake, he was getting a hero for his team as well. Smart teacher, yes. When two teams were assembled, the fight for resources began. The aim was to gain 10 kilograms of gold, 20 kilograms of vegetables for peasants, and build a house for the village. And every kilogram cost some exercises. The teacher was provoking Simon from time to time. He was throwing the die, and if there was an odd number on the die, a big dragon came to Simon and burned the houses. Um, the teacher has got only one student. We don't know about it. Yeah. So every Simon's mistake increased the teacher's chance to success. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Did it actually help Simon? Yes. Step by step, he started learning. This game was like a push for him. He also liked discussing varied strategies with the teacher, and he really wanted to win. It was the example of maintaining the motivation using what? What do you think? Please write in the chat box. How can we call this way of maintaining the motivation? I couldn't call it motivation of achievement. It's partially the motivation of achievement, but there is something else. Interest. Victoria. Upgrading. Oh, yes. Here is a ladder in the screen. You can see it on the whiteboards. He was getting more and more kilograms of gold. He was progressing. Gamification, Amira, you are right. Yes. Yes, it was gamification. And visualization, gamification, everything was here. And what's important here? Criteria, creating a gaming context. You choose the location, the world, the universe. You set the aim. What will I get at the end? I will build a city. I will build a kingdom. And you explain the rules. How can I achieve this aim? So it was gamification. Simon's parents saw the effect and progress and sent Simon to a summer camp abroad for a month where he could practice English. There he made friends with guys from Germany and even fell in love with Margot from France. As you remember, I hope you remember, what's the leading activity at this age? What's the leading activity of teenagers? Please write in the chat box. What is the leading activity? Communication? The leading activity, chatting with peers. Yeah, so socialization, communication, communicating with peers. And learning is much better in this situation. Yeah, peers. Absolutely right, Natalia. And let's get distracted from teenagers for a while. According to the latest research, the most effective learning is in emotionally driven groups of like-minded people going to the same goal and learning in the process. You ask me, what does it look like? It looks like something very popular nowadays. A group of people, like-minded, they are motivated, they support each other. What is it? Quests. Elena, what do you think? Challenge. Group game. Marathon. Anna, you are right. Yeah, it looks like a marathon or a training. Why are they so popular nowadays? Because the motivation of some people is very unstable. Lots of trainers understand the importance of emotionally driven collective of people. They understand the importance of setting a clear goal, divided into small steps, pass the exam, pass the final test, do the final test, and emotional immersion in the process with the help of the leader who supports and gives the feedback. There are some schools in St. Petersburg which use the format of training, and they reap their rewards. Students go to camp for adults where they immerse in English for a couple of days. It was written on the slide. Yeah, actually, yes. Anastasia. But I like the idea with challenges and with group work because, of course, it marathon also includes everything, group work and challenges too. Yes, students go to camps for adults where they immerse in English for a couple of days. There is friendship, socialization, emotions, and simultaneously learning. Motivation falls down rarely because there are other students around who support you. And if students can integrate their knowledge in real life, they won't weaken a fresh neural system in their brain, freshly created neural system. They have all chances to save their motivation for a long time. It's easier not to give up if you have lots of people are watching what you are doing. Victoria, I absolutely agree with you. Here is Olga Marquez on the screen. Do you know her? If yes, please give me a plus. Do you know who it is? Uh-huh. She's the founder of Sector School in St. Petersburg and around Russia, and it's all about sport. It's about creating groups of people who are motivated and who can. You get a video every day, and you send the results of what you are doing. There are some sport exercises to the chat group who support you, who assess you, and who help you to maintain your motivation. Um, and I could finish our story about Simon at this point, but I want to add something else. Simon grew up and became a successful businessman. He spoke English perfectly and he decided to arrange a course for his employees one day. They got divided into two groups, and surprisingly, after 5 months of studying, the colleagues from the first group, let's call it Group A, could easily handle a long conversation with foreigners in English, and in the second group, Group B, they were still too shy to speak and constantly were skipping the classes. One day, one colleague, one lady from one of the Simon's departments confessed him that she had a feeling that she didn't seem to be getting anywhere. Simon was curious about it and he had a conversation with both teachers. And here is what he discovered. Although both groups knew that they needed English for work, Simon, he was a very good boss, he didn't limit them. He didn't say, I fire you unless you start speaking English. No. But in Group A, the teacher said that pre-intermediate level would be covered in 5 months. 25th of January is our exam, oral and written, but there is nothing to be afraid of. If you do what I tell you, if you follow all my recommendations, I'll help you. You will level up. There wasn't such a conversation in Group B. People just knew that yes, they finished the course approximately at this time. In Group B, the teacher in Group A, the teacher gave the students a table with the list of topics to be covered in a form of steps. Here they are, from the beginning to the end. As soon as the topic is finished, the teacher asked the students to color it so all of them saw how they were moving upwards. And if someone in the group was complaining that he couldn't remember the word or he didn't understand something, didn't remember something, the teacher reminded them that they had already covered this topic and the students had to refresh it. So it is a special chartboard that was given to every student in the first group, in the Group A. And here is a list of topics. Group B wasn't, in Group B, the teacher didn't give something like that. Group B was just following from topic to topic and didn't have a visual image of what they've passed. What do you think? What are the factors of success of Group A? What do you think? How not to drop dead and stay alive after all these strenuous attempts to entertain students? Very good question. Yes. Sometimes it's really hard. Yeah, I have an answer, I think. They see progress. Actually, the teacher said the SMART goals. They had a key. Actually, yes, absolutely right. It's a good word, a key. Discussing the results. I know that lots of teachers sometimes omit this option. They just don't discuss the results and that they just don't mention it with their students. Visualization of progress. Yes. So the teacher set the SMART goals or SMART objectives. The goal has to be specific. You have to pass the exam and reach a new level. The teacher explained what students would be able to do after this course and what topics they would be able to discuss. So the objective was specific, and the teacher discussed that with his students. The objective must be measurable. Sorry, here are the SMART goals. Measurable. The students see that topics they know better, which topics they know better, which topics they know worse, and the goal is to know them all on a good level. The goal must be achievable. The teacher emphasized at the beginning that only if students fulfill these conditions, attending the classes, doing homework, doing some extra worksheets, the goal will be achieved. And of course, the topic, the objective must be relevant for students. You need English for work, then you might climb up the career ladder and increase your salary. And everything, all these objectives should be voiced. So you discuss it before you start the course with all your students. They tell you their goals, you tell them the conditions under which they can succeed and under which they can reach their goals. Of course, if a person doesn't want to study, this trick simply won't work. The teacher should draw a line, I think. Here is my responsibility, my sphere of influence, and here is only my student's choice. We really can be sort of guides for those students who want, but they don't want how to set goals for themselves. We have to voice these goals and conditions of achieving them at the very start. And then the chances of losing motivation throughout the process will be lower because students can keep the track of what's going on. They see, they have a visualization of it. And timeline, time-oriented. Oh, yes, I haven't mentioned that. You have only a certain amount of time, when you have to finish the course. So your objectives should be time-bound. You know that you have to pass this exam at the end, and nobody wants to be worse than the other members of your group. That's why they have to do their best. We had a look at Simon's life. We saw the periods of losing motivation and growing it. They all depended on different factors at different time. The factors were leading activity. Every stage in life has its own leading activity. Doing it, the person learning and as a result getting another stage. Another factor is interests of your students. Even if these interests are games, computer games. Yeah, we all like spending time on what we enjoy doing, right? And we don't like spending time on what seems to be boring. And we help we should help our students with setting goals, smart goals. Lots of teachers tend to think that if the person doesn't want to study, nothing could help. That's true. There is no problem worse than unmotivated student. Lots of teachers, lots of you have you've mentioned this problem in the chat box. Yeah, nothing can be worse than unmotivated student. But there is a trap for teachers at the same time. All people have a loss of motivation sometime, even the most diligent. And if we don't consider it, if we don't work for students' sake, if we don't help them with creating a strategy, with creating a map of how we can move forwards, and if we don't inspire them in the process, what kind of teachers are we? So I think we should consider all these factors. And as you can see here, Simone succeeded. Everything is fine. And I'd like to look at the questions that have been asked during my session. I've chosen some of them. And I'm ready to answer. Let me have a look. Aha. Natalia Berdnikova has asked how a teacher can get children love English from the first lesson. And I think it's a very interesting question, because when a child comes to your class, when the child comes to you, what does the child see? He sees the teacher who is full of energy, who likes what he or she is doing. And if you are motivated, if you like what you are doing, if you love what you do, you can inspire your child. You can help them to love English too, I think. Yes, and it's the main idea on how to help. So it's just like a flow. You are full of energy, and you infect your children with your energy. And this is the condition under which your children might like English too. They see that you like it. Why? And they feel that, oh, it's good. It's really interesting. The teacher likes it. Why not trying to do it too? To try to be as active as a teacher at the classroom. So next question was from Yana Kiashka: how to keep interest during long period of time, especially after the first year of study? I think in this case, exams can help greatly. At the end of the year, we have a week of exams. All our students in our school, they pass some sort of Cambridge exams. Exams are in a format of Cambridge exams. So we have tests, and we have the oral part, the speaking part. We record them, and at the end, we send their parents a letter with the topics that they've covered, and with their progress, with the mark they've got at the exam. It can motivate them greatly, because they see that everything wasn't in vain. They simply progressed a lot, and at the end, they passed the exam. At the end, what can be better? They got a good result. How to motivate children learn grammar, as it's their huge problem and the cause of bad marks at school. Learning grammar, as it's their huge problem and the cause of bad marks at school. And they simply don't want to learn grammar. Actually, a story of gamification and Clash of Clans game, it was my real case. And it was my 11 years old student who had problems with motivation, and he liked this game greatly. I used this idea with him, and we took grammar tasks in this case, because he had a wide range of vocabulary. He had no problems with speaking, but he didn't want to study grammar. and it was my trick how to for make him study it. Let's have a look at some other questions. Hmm Anna Bruskaya asked a question: does it really work when a teacher is always acting, dancing, and moving in front of students? Um, yeah, it's a good question because sometimes we seem to be like there is. It's important to strike a good balance between amusing children and teaching them because something that works well in your preschool classroom won't work with your secondary students at all because it's pointless to entertain them all the time. uh, yes, you change the activities. There is you should add some gamification, maybe some role play to keep their motivation high, but don't overuse it because otherwise they won't learn. They'll be expecting you from you only entertainment, nothing more. And the last question is, how to motivate parents to motivate their children. hmm Uh, I think that the best way to motivate parents to motivate their children is to talk with them. And it's one of the hardest questions because sometimes parents tend to distract from everything what's going on in the classroom. The common thought is, the common case is like, I pay money and do what you want. I just want good marks at school, and that's all. And then again, we have to understand that there is a sphere where I can influence as a teacher, and that's all. We teachers, we all are perfectionists, and it's important to draw a line, I think, and not to think that we are gods, because we are simply people, we are simple teachers, and we can have an impact on our students, we can influence them, but to some extent, I would say. And thanks for your answers. Thanks for your questions. I think we ran out of time. And what I'd like to add, it's only the first day of our session. It's only the first day of our marathon. Tomorrow and on Friday, we are going to have Gail Alice and Sarah Thompson, wonderful speakers. And I personally invite you there because I'll be there too. And their speeches are going to be amazing. They are absolutely amazing, and they all are professionals in their sphere. And they can explain how to motivate children, how to teach them, how to learn. And I highly recommend you to be there tomorrow and on Friday. Thank you very much. You're a wonderful audience. I really do hope that my presentation and my session was useful. You would implement some ideas in your classroom in September or maybe in summer. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.